Okay.
That was what the woman said to me on the street after a play in New York. She said, "You're buttoning it wrong." I was buttoning my overcoat.
Did she teach you?
No,
And was
she
it
just
mommy or was it just someone
no. It
yelling?
was a stranger.
A stranger just yelling at you.
As happens,
As
fair.
Happens. That's fair.
With some frequency
That's
in New
fair.
York. Mm-hmm.
So okay.
So no strangers, only
people, only new people to yell at you.
Yes.
Who you've never spoken to before.
That's right.
That's instead of a stranger's just a friend you haven't met.
That's
in
right.
New York, it's
That's
not
right.
that.
It's not that.
In New York, not that.
It's variation on that.
Yeah, yeah.
Just as I used to sometimes unload on cab drivers who cut me off.
Oh well, yeah. That's healthy.
It was cathartic.
I think that's healthy to yell. Well, this has been a really. I deeply love cursing. I love it. I love swearing. And part of why I love it is I learned many years ago that it's actually good for you. It releases endorphins when you curse. And so I then decided the only obvious response to it was to curse as much as I possibly could. And now that I have a small human being who listens to me, she's actually not said any bad words. I do try to hold them back because obviously, especially when I'm at her school, I don't think that would go over very well with the other parents. But she's yet to do it. The only problem is Daisy has a little baby speech impediment, not a big one, and could be gone by the time she's, 4. But there are certain letters that she pronounces wrong. And these are very common letters. So instead of saying fire truck, she says fire And I'm not going to complete that word for you as a gift, which is absolutely hilarious. And she'll go, oh, look, it's a this truck, it's a that truck, except she's not saying truck. Although every time I try to get it on camera,
no,
she doesn't do it. No. Every single time I try to say, because I want to save that forever. I want to have her cursing inadvertently for the rest of my life. That is my goal.
No, she's more like Michigan J. Frog.
Yeah. Oh, that's a very good description of her. But that's also a good description of most toddlers. Because when you need them to do something, they're just like, nah. Hey, remember how you could always do blank? Not today.
No.
Not today. Always
funny.
The
first time we met Guillermo del Toro, the wonderful Mexican-born director.
Yes. One of our favorite people just in general.
Right. He said that he loved cursing in English because English is not his first language.
Yeah.
His first language is Spanish. And so he loved saying things like bastard.
Yeah.
And other words. And when he's come to my class 3 or 4 times, USC, and the kids, of course, just love it because it's so
much fun. And he's got, because of his accent is so fantastic anyway, but then you add to that the cursing and it's just like, it's chef's kiss. Good afternoon, Maltin's Leonard. Do you have a copy of the recently released Directing at Disney by Pete Docter and Don Sure he does. He does.
What a great book. Yeah. What a revelatory book.
And because of the time of year, you've actually gotten to see, Pete lives in Northern California. He's down here a bit, but not all the time. It happens because D23 was recent and he was also doing some work down here. We've seen him a handful of times, but you got to tell him in person how much you loved the book.
Oh, yeah. And we're going to publish a review on my website very soon.
Are we?
Oh, yeah.
Okay.
And it's about what life was like for the directors at Disney and how the Disney operation worked. They have some flow charts even in the book to show how animators, story person, supervisor, animation supervisor, there had to be a method, right? There had to be some way of instructing the animator what to do.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm using the pronouns he and him because it was all men at that time, except in the ink and paint department, where it was almost all women.
Mm-hmm.
And I used to think that was because they thought that women's work was more delicate because they could pay them less. Anyway,
History.
Yes, to learn.
History.
But the problem for the directors was that they were the go-between
Yeah.
between Walt and the animator. In the early days, not such a big problem because the studio was small. But as it expanded, and it expanded very quickly in the 30s, as they got ready to make Snow White and the Seven Dwarfs, I mean, they expanded by hundreds and hundreds of people. So now they really needed somebody to be the communicator.
Yeah.
But as communicator, the old Greek story about don't kill the messenger. Well, they want to kill the messenger.
Which is fair. I mean, that's the thing. There is no
Yes.
sort of winning in this. It's not, it's just human. Hola, Rafael. He's joining us from Dominicana. Hello to you, sir. Yeah, it is. There have been so many good books recently, books that you've really fallen in love with.
Oh, yeah.
A number of really, really excellent books. And it's so interesting to sort of see what people are into. I mean, it would appear that in terms of Disney, there's just a never-ending stream of
Yes.
stuff, and
Yes.
it feels like forever. That's what it's going to be like. Hello, Adam.
At one time, I thought I had more books on Chaplin
Yeah,
than
yeah,
anybody else.
But now it's Disney for sure.
Yeah, it's Disney.
Yeah.
And I know of more in the works.
Oh yeah, no, but that's what I
And-
mean. It
and,
seems to be a well that doesn't dry up.
Yep.
And
It's inexhaustible.
yeah,
He and his company
both. Yeah, yeah.
are an inexhaustible subject.
Yeah, man, oh man. Ryan is just saying that when he just did that Walt Land bus tour with Bob Gurr, and that they stopped at Hyperion Studios. Yeah, man, it's really interesting. I see you asking about The Substance, Ken. My dad will never see that movie. That is never going to be something that he watches, because unless it was for work, there's no reason he would watch that movie. But I will tell you, I pulled up because I saw you ask. One of my best friends who loves I'll say unique, but also the weird. He went and saw it, and he said The Substance was wild, gross body horror, but also sad. He and I were talking about how strange sort of Demi Moore is looking. Something that happens with plastic surgery is sometimes it takes a little time to settle in. So a few years ago,
I've always found that to be true.
It's true.
Yeah.
A few years ago, she had some sort of extreme thing done to her face that looked awful, that went viral because it was so odd looking. Now it's settled a bit, but now she's also got these veneers and fake lips, which is what I'm going to tell you. So the teeth are similar in the movie and the lips are distracting. The veneers are too white. Now, why is this interesting? Because he's saying this is all fascinating because the movie is about changing yourself cosmetically with this substance to be younger. So, did she understand that she fit the part because she's doing those things, that she is someone who for years has been doing all kinds of procedures? Who knows? But the other thing that always makes me laugh is that the theater that my friend tends to go to is a Lemley in Encino. And every time he's there, he is the youngest by about 80 years.
Yeah.
And there's not a big crowd. So this time it was one couple and one old lady in Encino. Woman in the couple had her hands up from 30 minutes on for 2 hours. Boyfriend was taking immense glee. And I love that. I love that so much. But anyway, there's a handful of weird movies coming, but also obviously since we've just had Toronto and Telluride and Venice, a heap of the new big ones. And Jason Reitman just showed Saturday night at Fantastic Fest, and people loved it. We spoke a little bit about my dad's time at Telluride and what he got to see. But yeah, it's there's just so many strange ones. Yeah, Craig is saying, I love Nicole Kidman, but I have trouble watching her since she discovered Botox. Well, this is the hard thing, right? How do you keep up with the intense scrutiny that you are under while not changing yourself so much that that's all you notice? So I think that's really difficult. We've talked a little bit about how my dad, for a while, they colored his beard when he was on Entertainment Tonight. When he was first sort of getting the salt and pepper, they'd color his beard in a bit darker, which did read better on screen. Not that it makes you look younger, it's just definition to the face. And then he finally realized that it doesn't work because people were seeing him in real life and he didn't look like that. You know, if you were never going to be seen
I
in
gave up.
person.
I figured the jig was up.
Yeah.
You know.
But that's even for a man, you know, they're not held to the same standards. But still, you've been on TV for 50 years or whatever it is at this point. More than that, but we won't go into it. You know, and you are aware. You know, you are aware in a way that most men who are not on television or on the big screen would be. You know, it has an effect. Harrison is saying, what are your thoughts about the films you're presenting tonight?
Harrison was in attendance.
Yes.
At the new. This weekend, I've been introducing double features at Quentin Tarantino's New Beverly Cinema on Beverly Boulevard here in Los Angeles. And they're all beautiful 35 millimeter prints from Universal of rare Universal pictures. These are not on streaming. They're not on video. One of the ones tonight is on DVD. And I know the backstory of that. And that was a fluke. A happy fluke.
We didn't mean to make it accessible to you.
Exactly.
It was an accident.
Exactly. Well, I will not snow you. I have never seen Only Yesterday. It's one of the reasons I'm showing it, because I want to see it. And I can't see it in any other way.
This event is not about you. It's about him wanting to watch something on a big screen. And the excuse is to get all of you to come and join him.
That's right.
But no,
so we had great turnout.
You had a
Friday
blast.
And Saturday night.
A lot of your friends, but also just a lot of movie buffs, very excited about it. And you and Mommy have been going. I have been on Daisy duty so that my parents can go and enjoy this.
And tonight is a Margaret Sullivan double bill. Her first film, Only Yesterday, directed by John M. Stahl, specialist in soap operas. He had done Backstreet, great success in 1931. And the second film is an early William Wyler credit called The Good Fairy, with a script by Preston Sturges, adapted from the play by Molnar, the man who wrote Lilium and a lot of other stuff. He was a resource for Hollywood for years and years and years, his plays. And last night, the audience has been really simpatico.
Yeah.
Because the first night we showed the one film I knew well, Once in a Lifetime, based on the play by George S. Kaufman and Moss Hart about the early days of talkies. Hysterically funny, and very appreciative audience. But the second film, I hadn't seen, neither had anyone else, except for the showing that Dave Kerr had at Museum of Modern Art in New York 8 years ago. It hasn't been run since 1932, and there's a reason. It's not very good.
But this is where we come. We've mentioned this before, but when we showed movies, when we'd have more frequent movie nights when I was growing up at our house, where our friends would come over, and my mom and I would get popcorn and do all of that stuff, we would have anywhere from 10 to 20 people in the living room with the screen that pulled down. This was not a theater. This was our living room that we put a screen in. The first thing, the motto of Lowe's Whipple, we worked on Whipple Street. Our theater was called Lowe's Whipple, was we don't make them, we just show them. And the reason for that is that they sometimes were just god awful. And that's okay.
I only
because
showed
they
films.
wanted to see them.
That's right. I only showed films I hadn't seen.
Yeah.
And had various sources who would loan me these 60 millimeter prints. And we had a great time.
Yeah.
Except for the people who wanted to see good movies.
Yeah, that sucked for them. Hi, CJ. It is really funny because
this is going to buzz in 2 minutes.
Okay. Well, young man.
Yeah.
All right. I'll deal with it when it pops up.
All right.
I would say sometimes to my parents, just because it's rare, that makes it worth watching. And they would go, yeah. I'm like, even if it's awful, yeah, because you got to say you did, and it's like, all right, man, whatever works for you guys. Jim has just joined us, my friend Jim Hemphill, who wrote a wonderful piece about the event going on this weekend at the New Beverly. My dad's hope was that if it went well, they would let him do it again, and he could show more of these rare films. And I'll tell you that I think most film nerds' dream is to have access to a theater. You know, to have access to a theater so that you can do this. Because whether it's old movies, new movies, whatever, having the ability to say, I really want to show blank, and there being a space for that to happen is wonderful. You know, it's a wonderful thing to be able to share the stuff you love. Yes, Doug is saying so many movies seem caught up in legal rights issues. Well, and this is where the whole world of YouTube is fascinating, right? There's stuff on YouTube that you can't see anywhere else.
Right.
Because it takes the right person. Oh, there it goes. There it goes.
Goodbye.
It takes the right person complaining or what's it called? Reporting it.
Mm-hmm.
But if no one does, it can just live.
I wanted to see, my wife and I listened to an audiobook about the Berlin airlift that came about in the late 40s, early 50s. Fascinating story. Absolutely incredible, true story about how we helped Germany rebuild itself after bombing Berlin to smithereens. And they called up people, they called up men who'd served and gone home and started to rebuild their lives.
Yeah.
And said, no, we need you again.
Yeah.
There's so many facets to the story. Just great. Well, they made a film called The Big Lift with Paul Douglas and Montgomery Clift, who was in another post-war Berlin film, The Search, directed by Fred Zinnemann. I always want to do a series of these films at a place like the New Beverly, because they're so interesting. The Third Man being the most famous of those films. But Billy Wilder made A Foreign Affair. He had been actually assigned to go to Berlin and supervise recreational activities. And that's when someone asked if they could put on the Passion Play. He said, only if they use real nails.
And did they?
Anyway, so I wanted to see The Big Lift. Well, it was never released on VHS, apparently. Certainly not on DVD. And what it is that it fell out of copyright. Somebody forgot to do the paperwork to renew the copyright. As a result, Fox, well, now it's Disney, but no, it's Fox. As a result, 20th Century Fox had no incentive to put it out, because if they put out a really good looking copy, people would just steal it,
right?
Copy it willy-nilly. So the versions that are available on through Amazon and on IMDb and on YouTube are all slightly substandard.
Yeah.
But watchable.
But at least they're there.
Yes, thank goodness.
That's the thing. At least they're there. Yes, Doug, this is the week. We're just talking about the New Bev right before you joined us. Yeah, it's been great. The turnout has been great. Tonight's the last night. He's very excited. And
Victoria, how interesting. Victoria's saying her father was one of the rebuilders. He married a woman he met at the GI Laundry.
Huh.
Well, that's one facet of that story.
Yeah.
Is the what they used to politely call fraternization.
Yeah. Well, it's true. I mean, how many, whether it's movies or even jokes on TV shows, hell, The Simpsons had it, where the men who went to serve in different countries had children and sometimes full-on families in other countries.
Yep.
And that's nuts. You think about it, but there was a time when that was pretty common.
Yeah.
To the point where it became a joke, to the point where a show like The Simpsons does a bit about it. King of the Hill did something on it. Like it's just kind of wild to think about all of it. And yeah, public domain is tricky as hell. Now, I have been watching the new series that just came out, Monsters, which is the most recent. They did what's his face? Dahmer. And the new one that they've done is on the Menendez brothers. And now there's something that my dad taught me a very long time ago, which is do not get your history from the movies. And it's true. And so I've always been someone who likes to look everything up. Now, I used to have to do that at a library or we had an Encyclopedia Britannica. There was a CD. Do you remember we had that? We had the CD. We had a couple of different, and I would try to look stuff up that way.
CD-ROM.
CD-ROM. Yes, sorry. To clarify for those that don't know, CD-ROM. That's how I would do it. Or I would just, and then I would ask our friends. I would ask my dad. I would ask his friends about different stuff to try to sort of get more details. Well, nowadays we do have at our fingertips a small computer. And with that, you also have to take, everything with a grain of salt, because you don't necessarily know who the source is.
Right.
So even then you have to think about that. But, I will never understand the point of using a name, let's say, this is the story of so-and-so, and then you completely lie and fabricate. Like, what's the point of that? Just make it up. I was, one of my favorite ones to say is the film We Bought a Zoo. The only accurate aspect of the entire film is that a zoo was purchased. Everything else, where it's like the mom's dead, we're crying, the kids are adjusting to life without a parent, made up. All of it made up. The only thing that is at all real is that someone did in fact buy a zoo.
There was this guy.
That's it.
And he bought a zoo.
In the UK.
Yeah.
Bought a zoo. The end. Why even say it's based on something? Just say we bought a zoo and we made a story about it, because that's fine. It's fine to do that. Hello, most movies are made up. Nobody cares. What's weird to me is this insistence on doing real stories that you then completely ignore all the factual information. Why? And in this case, because I grew up here in Los Angeles, and I was too young when everything started happening with the Menendez brothers, but old enough to, through the 90s, hear about everything and wonder what was going on. So this new series, I've watched all the episodes now. The first part is they got like 97% of it wrong. Like, a lot of it is wrong. And part of why I find that to be unacceptable is that these two men are alive. And they are constantly filing appeals, whether you think they deserve to be let out or not. Any of that, that's up to you and the law. But they're real and they exist.
Yeah.
It's, when they did the Dahmer, last year when they did the Dahmer series, at least he's gone. And it's been a long time, and many of the people who were affected directly are no longer around. It's the same. They just did the series. It's called Under the Bridge, something like that, on Hulu, with Riley Keough. And that was another true story and a really serious one and very deeply upsetting. And apparently there too, they got a ton of the information incorrect. And all those people are alive. Like, everyone's alive. So when you spread falsehoods, lies, whatever, there are a lot of people who are not smart enough to look this up for themselves. There are a lot of people who are just going to take whatever you're telling them.
This has been true since the beginning of motion pictures.
Of course. But it's to me, it's just the idea that now that we do have all of the technology that we have, but also all of the platforms that we do, just make it up. Just say that this is loosely based on the lives of whoever, instead of saying this is what happened, because both the brothers have made statements saying, talking about how upset they are that yet again, more rumors have been put out there, falsehoods and things that are just like actual black and white false.
I don't want to go too deep into this because
I get mad.
No, because it's a Pandora's box.
Yeah.
We get into deep fakes and
but that's a whole other thing. To me, it's just as simple as, I don't know. I don't think it's right to do something like that. Just make it up. As I say, you can say loosely based on, that's fine. Steve says the actual zoo is 20 minutes from me here in Devon. I've read so much about this friggin' zoo. And let me tell you, Steve, do you know why I was angriest? Is because the movie made me cry a lot. There are a lot of really sad, beautiful moments. It's like, this is so emotional. And then I look it up and it's like, this is a lie. You made me weep.
Oh, well.
You liars made me weep.
Oh, well.
But yeah, but it is a reminder, just, that
And by the
you
way,
have to look everything up.
Nick, yes, that was a dumb Pop-Tart movie. I bailed. I watched about 20 minutes.
Yeah.
Your mother and I watched about 20 minutes.
And then you gave up. But as I say, it's just, to me, it's just a strange thing to do. I don't know why you would want to do that. Colin is saying, an internet friend of mine will get very angry at the mention of the Dahmer series. He knew several of the victims and isn't happy that Dahmer became a kind of a cult figure. But that's what I mean.
That's always the problem with any, it was the problem when gangster movies began in the 1930s. Said you're glorifying Al Capone.
Yeah.
You're turning these people into heroes, and they're far from that.
Yeah. Well, the first time that I started looking into Bonnie and Clyde, because how often are Bonnie and Clyde referenced in music and movies and TV shows? I mean, it's fairly constant. As soon as, what's a man looking for? He's looking for his Bonnie. What's a woman? Yeah, I'm looking for my Clyde. That idea of this ride or die, the term ride or die. And so I looked into it. And I watched the movie and things like that. But then you read about them and you go, this is all really sad. And their ending, of course, was horrific. But the whole thing, this is not romantic. This is ugly.
Yeah.
Same kind of thing. People love Sid and Nancy, which is another real weird one to fantasize about. No, their story is not romantic. It's a mess. So, again, I get it. I get that sometimes something just becomes bigger than you, but yeah, it's a weird one.
I will. Someone asked about the wild robot. It happened.
I'm really looking forward to that.
I showed it in my class on Thursday, a week before it. Oh, actually, they told me it opened Friday in Australia.
Oh, there you go.
And I think New Zealand.
Yep.
So yet again, they're ahead of us.
Well, yeah, they live in the future, literally.
Yes. And as Criswell pointed out, that's where we're all going to live.
That's right. And what did you think?
It's wonderful.
Yeah.
It's a wonderful movie.
Yay.
It's based on a book. It's directed by Chris Sanders.
Mm-hmm.
And it has his fingerprints all over it. Chris Sanders is a very talented animation director, writer, animator. The whole works. Was at Disney, did Lilo and Stitch at Disney, worked on story on earlier films, How to Train Your Dragon, DreamWorks. He's been all over. The animation industry is a really tiny, insular segment of the motion picture business. And so anyone who's been in that field for longer than, say, 10 years, chances are they work with that person and that person.
They all know each other.
They all know each other, and they all and they don't always see each other as competitors, but as colleagues.
Yeah.
Anyway,
Evanier. When in doubt, Evanier.
Bingo.
Troublemaker.
Our friend, our disruptive friend, Mark Evanier says, Criswell does not live in the future. He's dead.
Get out, Evanier.
Perfect.
Get out, Evanier.
Perfect.
You're so funny. Anyway, Craig says the real Bonnie and Clyde look nothing like the gorgeous Dunaway and Baby. Well, that's the given. Every time you watch a movie and you go, God, what beautiful people, you look them up on real life and you think, but it's nice at least, because maybe you feel like, oh, when I die in some horrific way, people will cast someone beautiful to be me. And how exciting will that be for everyone involved? I'm so glad that you liked it. Did the kids seem to like it?
Oh, I say
kids, the students. The students seem to like it.
I think they did.
Good. I'm so glad.
They asked really good questions. We had Jeff Herman, the producer, and terrible.
It's been a long week, man. You're all right. The other guy.
No. A very nice woman was the head of story, who was very interesting because piecing together a story, cobbling together, maybe I should say, a story for a feature-length animated film is really difficult. And
Evanier, sorry. They did a great job.
They did a great job. It's a very emotional film. It's a
It
very
looks it
a
in the
very
trailers.
yeah, very
I
emotional
think they're
film.
promoting it well, which is nice and
Good.
rare.
Good.
It looks like that. It looks like
Yeah.
something emotional, for sure. So we asked you folks if there's anything good that you've watched recently. Jason said Rebel Ridge, which you also showed at your class,
Yep.
and the miniseries Baby Reindeer. Baby Reindeer is a trip. I thought it was so good, but man, oh man, what a wild ride. If you haven't seen it, I will say nothing else because you should know nothing else. But it's something. And you liked Rebel Ridge.
Not a lot.
Not a lot?
No.
There you go.
Too
Not a
long.
lot. Too
But
long.
but I did like Aaron Pierre.
Right.
I
Yeah.
think he's a star.
You think he's really something, which is exciting.
He's a star in the making.
Yeah.
I saw Will and Harper and liked it.
Yeah.
Didn't love it, but liked it. I think it's being overpraised, but it's good. It's good. So I don't want to, take anything away from it. That's one with Will Ferrell going on a road trip with a guy that he met 30 years ago at Saturday Night Live, and who in his early 60s has transitioned.
To female.
To female.
To be clear, transitioned to female, not like to a new job or a new house.
Yeah.
Yeah. So it's about them sort of rebuilding their relationship now.
Re-examining their relationship.
Yeah. Yeah. Never even heard of Baby Reindeer. So Baby Reindeer is on Netflix. And something that Netflix does that I do find a bit strange is something will be huge for a week or so, and then it kind of disappears.
Mm-hmm.
They have whatever they're pushing, and then when they're done pushing, they're done pushing. And so I feel like Baby Reindeer has a bit of that, where if you saw it, like I watched it as soon as it came up. And it was so strange. I binged the whole thing because I just needed to know where the hell it was going. It's, as I say, I don't want to say anything because you shouldn't know anything if you don't know anything. But yeah, it's a trip is kind of the best way I can describe it. Have you seen the Christopher Reeves movie?
No.
Doc, I really want to see that one.
Yeah.
Cheryl's asking, did you see it, Cheryl? Did you get to watch that doc yet? I'm really interested in it. His kids have been doing a ton of interviews.
No, I'm interested. I interviewed him.
Yeah.
Post accident.
I remember.
And it was a difficult experience for me.
Yeah.
Trying to pretend nothing was wrong.
Right.
And that I was just interviewing him.
Mm-hmm. Well, that's like when you interviewed Roger when he had the falls.
Mm-hmm.
As Roger Ebert became more and more ill, he lost his jaw because he had cancer.
They had a tracheotomy as well.
So he didn't have a chin, and then they sort of created a false one for him that kind of looked good. But I remember that when you had to interview him, that was difficult because you've known him for such a long time, and it's hard to pretend like that's not there. It's funny because if it was today, it would have been different because it would have been addressed in a very different way.
Yeah.
Now, then it was
this is how quickly things change.
Yeah.
They change in society.
Yeah.
And as they change, they make certain films and certain dramatizations not obsolete.
Yeah.
But they undercut them.
Yeah.
And it's interesting what you thought about a film you saw 5 years ago may not be valid today.
Yeah. Well, something that's small, again, now that I'm spending as much time as I'm spending with very small humans, something that I find amazing is how different the interactions are in some very specific ways. For the most part, kids are kids. Kids are kids. They're the same. But little things like if they want to go on the swing, you now sort of say, is it okay if I pick you up? And the kid always says yes, but you say, is it okay if I pick you up? Little things like that, we help them wash their hands when it's time for snack. And so, in that first couple of days when we were all getting to know each other and the kids were getting to know us, You'd say, all right, I'm going to help you wash your hands now. And you're treating them the way they should be treated.
Yeah.
They're people. You would never
Yeah.
walk up to an adult and just touch them,
Right.
or move them in some way.
Right.
But I do find it really interesting now. And the kids, that's what the kids expect.
Yeah.
They expect you to say, can I help you with this? Do you want help with that?
If I'm going to a doctor's office at like one of the Cedars buildings, and I'm going in an examination room, it's not going to be by myself.
Yeah.
There's going to be someone else there.
Yeah. It's a trip.
Yeah.
As I say, it's not like it's even good or bad. It's just different.
Yep.
But yeah, I do like that for the kids. I like that the kids are sort of more confident for themselves, being able to say yes and no to things.
But I still bristle at the notion that Snow White, in her deep slumber, didn't give permission for the prince to kiss her and wake her up and let her live the rest of her life. But she didn't give consent.
The pendulum always swings too far. Yeah, that is particularly ridiculous.
Yeah.
Celebrating Chuck Jones's birthday, Jonathan is asking, what is your favorite Daffy Duck cartoon?
Oh, well, I like the Wacky Daffy more than I like the Frustrated Daffy that Chuck and Mike Maltese specialized in. He's very funny. The one who's in Rabbit Seasoning and Duck Rabbit Duck and Duck Amuck and all of those. But I love the Screw Loose Daffy that Bob Clampett specialized in. And Porky Pig's Feet, where Porky and Daffy have to get out of a hotel without paying the bill. That's my favorite. Directed by Frank Tashlin.
I love that. That's so funny. No, and we were very lucky because we got to know Chuck, and he loved all of this so much. He loved those characters, and you could feel that. Like, to me, you could feel the pride he had. The genuine understanding of the characters, all of that good stuff.
He always said he was Wile E. Coyote.
Yeah, for sure. Yeah. For sure. Yankee Doodle Daffy has my vote. It's a good one. As I say, there, we were talking about the other day that so Bluey uses some classical music, and my dad has always said he learned about classical music from cartoons because it gets used all of the time. And so as much as people can sort of joke about it, it also had a lot of value in terms of that stuff. And it is also interesting to see which characters kids still connect to now.
Yep.
Bugs Bunny is funny, but he's a wise ass. And so I find little kids don't go to him as much, that he doesn't do it for them.
Yeah.
They tend to prefer, at the youngest age, they tend to prefer the Mickey Minnie of today that are very warm and fuzzy. Though I can't imagine if you show them some of the early stuff where Mickey wasn't super sweet and adorable, how they would feel about that. Hi, Logan.
Jimmy, I just got my copy of Looney Tunes Collector's Choice Volume 4. I can't wait to dive in. It's 4 discs.
Yeah.
4 discs of mostly cartoons that haven't been released before.
Hi, sweetheart.
On Blu-ray.
Hi.
Speaking of...
Hi-yo. Oh, hi-yo. Hi-yo, Bubba. How you doing?
Here's our little test marketer.
Hi, baby. Did you have a good time? Yeah. Yeah. Are you tired? Sorry, guys. Oh, did she? Oh, thank goodness. Somebody woke up at 5 o'clock this morning, and that somebody was me and Daisy. So we're having a little bit of a sleepy time. Hi, baby. It's okay. Yeah, Jonathan's saying, I wish these cartoons were completely uncut. I get that. Okay, it's all right. Hi, my sweetie pie. Arthur says, One Froggy Evening is considered Chuck's masterpiece.
Well, it's one of his masterpieces.
What do you want, baby? You want some water?
Yeah.
Scott, will you just give her some water? Oh, sure. Okay, 1 second. Sorry. I love Yosemite Sam, the spaceman. I like that too. As I say, I love Daffy. He's always made me laugh the most. and so I will always be a Daffy person for sure. Though you do love Marvin Martian.
Yep.
It's pretty solid one. And Droopy. I love Droopy. I deeply love Droopy. Do you think you have a favorite? Is Bugs your favorite?
Bugs.
Yeah.
Bugs is always my favorite. The nomenclature on the Warner Archive DVDs and Blu-rays is a bit confusing. No, it's very confusing.
Daddy's gonna get some.
Gold collection, platinum collector's edition,
4082.
Version original.
Yeah.
But what matters is that they're digging out stuff that hasn't been seen. They're restoring a lot of them, and they look and sound better than ever. And that's all good news. It's all good. I'm not in a judgmental or complaining frame of mind.
Yeah.
When I get to see this.
Ken says, I've refallen in love with Rocky and Bullwinkle.
Well,
never a bad time.
Never a bad time for
Did
that.
you just realize there's an audience, my little ham? My little ham loves an audience. Hi, Bubba. Say hi. If you guys don't know, this is Daisy. This is my daughter, Daisy. And those of you who've been with us for a while are very familiar with this smushy face. And you're going to be 3 at the end of October, aren't you? You're such a big girl. Yeah. She's tired. She woke up very early, so we were all a little tired. I was going to ask, what else?
Some miscellaneous.
Yeah.
Anyway, Wild Robot.
Yeah. Go all the way back.
Well worth seeing. Going through some recent DVDs, not brand new, but recent. Flicker Alley put out this double feature of
French Revelations.
Fanfare
d'amour.
Fanfare of Love, and Mauvaise Grain, Bad Seed. Mauvaise Grain is an early writing credit and directing credit for Billy Wilder. He made it in Paris, en route to America. Fanfare of Love is officially the source for Some Like It Hot. And I read some buzz somewhere online that the Wilder always very dismissive of that source film. He said, "Oh, we just took the basic, premise. We didn't take anything else." Someone said, "Oh no, they took a lot more than that. They just took the premise." It bears no resemblance to Some Like It Hot.
Robin says, watching with sound down in Moab, Utah. Usually you're my late night viewing in London, UK. Well, I hope you're having a good time in Moab. It's absolutely gorgeous. Maybe put on some Bugs Bunny. It'll make you feel right at home. Yes, hopefully Daisy will sleep tonight. We can all pray, right? She didn't look like other Angelica because of her chubby cheek. Oh, you think Daisy looks a little bit like, yes, Daisy absolutely looks like one of the Rugrats. I'll go with that. You're a Rugrat. She says, I don't know what that is. What else you got?
This is a joint effort of VCI and Kino Lorber. It's one of my favorite films of the 30s, Street Scene, the Elmer Rice play, directed by the great King Vidor. And it's so contemporary. It's so frank and fresh and well acted with people who were making their screen debuts. Beulah Bondi and John Quaylen, two of the most familiar character actors of the Golden Age, were in the original play, and so got hired to do their reprise their roles in the movie. And Mick LaSalle has done a good commentary track, good program notes. Well worth seeing.
But wait, there's more.
John Ford. But how many people know the work of Francis Ford, his older brother?
Showing over here as well, Patty.
His older brother, Francis Ford, who was the one who got established in Hollywood first, and who adopted the name Ford from Ophirna.
Okay.
When Jack Ford, as he came to be known, arrived in California, he was beholden to his older brother, his big brother, for work and for gaining experience behind the camera and in front of it. And my friend Catherine Fuller Seeley has had a lot to do with finding and then helping to preserve the early work of Francis Ford. Very interesting. Very, very interesting, from the Library of Congress and our friend Ben Modell at Undercrank Productions. Some other friends have been spending their time
here and there.
Now, Blonde Devil, which was the film that kicked off the 3D craze. I mean, it actually launched the entire 1953-54 3D mania. Is a terrible movie. It's terrible. And the 3D can only help so much because they do so much of it in front of a process screen. But it's historically significant, and it has wonderful bonus features, including all the material that was shot to introduce the film. Lloyd Nolan comes on screen to tell you why you should be interested in 3D and how it works. And he's joined by Beanie and Cecil, the hand puppets, who were manipulated and voiced by Stan Freberg and Dawes Butler. So that's of interest right there. And there's demo films, trailers, everything you could want, and more.
And more.
And more.
CJ is saying, any new biography books you're reading? Some of them that were in the last book roundup we did. You read the Dominic Dunn?
I didn't
Griffin
review that
Dunn.
one yet. I read Griffin Dunn's book.
Yes.
The Friday Afternoon Club.
Yeah.
Really good.
I should say, one of the interesting things, of course, of having a series right now about the Menendez brothers is it brings up a number of people that otherwise are not often mentioned. Well, one of the prominent characters on the show played by Nathan Lane is Dominic Dunn. And Nathan Lane is fantastic he does a fantastic job. But part of how the series begins in terms of him being there is him in the courtroom finding out that the man that murdered his daughter, Dominique Dunn, is going to essentially go free. He gets like 3 years in jail. And that's a huge part of it. And so I looked, and on Google, Dominique and Dominic Dunn are currently trending. How interesting that when something like this happens, people become aware. And, you know, I never realized how certain things were so close together because P.S. there's also in this series a little bit about O.J. being in the cell next to one of the Menendez brothers. It also goes into the 94 earthquake. So there's a lot of things in it that are very much hitting home in a crazy way. But yeah, having that in there about Dominique Dunn and the man that, got off essentially, but also having Nathan Lane's
for the
character.
light sentence.
Well, 3 years for murdering someone is not really. Thank you. Arthur says we're boring Daisy. I know. I'm sorry. Poor Days. But yeah, it's as I say, the only positive from these kinds of things is the hope that people will then do some of their own homework and maybe learn a bit about them. Because what an interesting family and talented family, and Griffin now sort of carrying the torch. Successful on his own, obviously, but also representing his family.
Right.
Are there any other biographies? I'm trying to think of what you've been reading lately. Do you want me to take your shoes off? Oh, sorry. As I punch this knockdown Instagram. Sorry, everybody. Here.
Knockdown Instagram.
Is there anything else you've been reading?
My daughter knocked down Instagram. I've started reading another book that I don't want to comment on yet. But I also received a copy of...
Oh my God. Daisy was having a field day with this one.
I cannot put this box back together. It's the Three Stooges 20-disc Ultimate Blu-ray collection.
It's the one that makes the noise, exactly.
That's right.
Yeah, push it.
Push that button.
Hello. Hello. I'm Mo. I'm Cleary. I'm Larry. Oh, a wise guy, eh? Why, you numbskull? I'm a victim of circumstance. Leave him alone. Here. Let's scram.
And again.
Yeah. You didn't have to push it that
Take it
second
away.
time, right?
Take it away.
Why, you numbskull?
The only problem is I can't get the box back together.
Yeah.
Let's scram.
It won't
Other than that small problem, but yeah. So that's a new fun thing.
I am on disc number 20.
Need some water.
I'm interviewed
some
on
more,
disc
Daddy?
number 20
Get some water, Daddy.
by my friend Stephen Smith, who does wonderful bonus content
Yeah.
for DVDs and Blu-rays when they give him the opportunity to do that. And this opportunity was with conditions. It couldn't be longer than 15 minutes,
Mm.
and he only had a budget enough to shoot me. So I'm it. I'm all you get.
Oh, Brian is saying, I love the 2 pre-code comedies Friday night. Thanks, Mr. Maltin. I'm so glad you did.
Oh yeah.
I'm so glad you did.
And the audience, I mean, I expected once in a lifetime to go over.
Yeah.
And it did. Very appreciative audience. But I was also showing the Coens and Kellys in Hollywood.
Hey,
A complete-
hey. Oh, bub. Oh, dear. Honey, we're almost done. It's okay.
A complete unknown quantity. The 6th of 7 Coens and Kellys
Yeah.
films made by Universal. And why there was a 7th,
Sorry. Come here. It's
I
okay.
cannot-
It's okay.
oh, it must have made.
It's okay.
Oh, honey.
Come here. It's fine.
Oh, no, honey. Sweetheart. No,
It's okay.
sweetheart.
It's all right. It's all right. It's all right.
Sweetheart.
It's all right. It's all right.
I'm talking
It's
about
okay.
pre-code Hollywood. It's very
okay.
important,
It's
darling.
okay.
Nothing's more important than Daisy. Nothing's more important than Daisy.
It's hard when we're tired.
Yeah.
It's hard when we're tired. Yeah, Daisy. Yeah, Rob. She's gonna be okay. She's just tired. She's just really sleepy, but she's okay. She's okay. Being almost 3 is hard. Ben is saying future technology will enable a Three Stooges set to actually poke you in the eye. I wouldn't doubt it. Ken says least favorite Stooge.
Oh, no. I like them all. I like Joe Besser. Joe Besser's very funny. He just wasn't a good fit as the 3rd Stooge. Every now and then when they let him do his thing, he's funny. And Steve Smith captures that in his mini documentary that I am
That you're in.
that I'm in. I'm trying not to end a sentence with a preposition.
Put on in sentence. It's okay. Nick is asking, and I know you asked in the comments, Nick, what about the recent leadership change at Walt Disney's animation?
I'm not on the inside. I don't have any thoughts,
Mm-hmm.
positive or negative.
All we hope for, obviously, with everything is just that it's people that care. And you don't really know how it's all going to turn out initially. So we just hope things settle and that it's okay.
Yep.
Kind of all you can do. Oh, sorry. I was going to say somebody else said that the best movie they've seen recently. Chris said the best thing I watched recently was Once in a Lifetime at the New Beverly. Hardest I've laughed in a while.
Well, I go with that on both counts.
Yeah.
I'll tell you that my wife and I have been very much enjoying Bad Monkey.
What's that?
It's a mini series, limited series, whatever they want to call it now, starring Vince Vaughn.
Okay.
Adapted from the book by Carl Hiaasen. It's Carl Hiaasen, whose books I like very, very much. I sent him a fan letter years ago because I suffered through the movie Striptease with Demi Moore, which is based on one of his books. And I wrote to him and said, I was ready to write you off based on that. I didn't say it that way.
That would have been a great letter. Dear sir, I thought you sucked. But then
I read one of his books and became a fan. He's a very skillful and funny writer. And all of his stories take place among lowlifes in Florida. That's where he lives, and that's his milieu.
Okay.
And what Bill Lawrence, who developed this series, this limited series, has done is he's captured the tone of Hyacinth's novels really well.
Yeah.
The narration, even
Yeah.
the recaps. The recaps are done in that style. Scott, yeah, you're being paged.
As if it's
Okay.
not. Then my mother is yelling that. It's a nice calm Sunday in the Maltin house.
The day of rest. Theoretically.
She's having trouble getting her Brit box working. So she called the Brit in the house to get it working. I'm trying to think of what else you guys have watched lately. Because you've really been sort of on one, once every night getting something through.
Well, we're watching Pachinko. Season 2 of
You
Pachinko.
really like that first season. Is the second as good?
Yes.
Yeah?
So far.
That's good.
And they're going to get into a very dicey territory in the next episode or two with the bombing of Nagasaki.
Brian is asking where he can see the other Cohen and Kelly movies.
Nowhere. You have to become friendly with somebody well connected at NBC Universal, a Comcast company, and then see if they can check their vault and whether they have prints on hand of the other Coens and Kellys. I learned, which I didn't know exactly, the origin of the Coens and Kellys is clear. It's a ripoff of the Broadway show A.B.'s Irish Rose, which debuted in 1922 and ran for years. In fact, it held the record for the longest running Broadway show for decades. I think exceeded only 20 years later by Life with Father.
It's okay.
And it was such a hit. And it was about the culture clash of a Jewish boy marrying an Irish Catholic girl, that Hollywood started doing ripoffs almost immediately.
Okay.
And George Sidney, who plays the Jewish character, Mr. Cohen, was in 3 other films. He was in Clancy's Kosher Wedding, Potash and Perlmutter, and another one, the name of which escapes me right now. So, and in this film that we watched, they refer to each other only as Cohen and Kelly. Hey, Cohen, come over here.
Very funny.
Yeah. Kelly, I'm going to get you for that. It's the lure of the film for me was that it has brief appearances by Universal stars Lou Ayres, Gloria Stewart, Boris Karloff, and Tom Mix, shot at the Coconut Grove at the Ambassador Hotel. The length of the shots is approximately the length of time it took for me to say their names just now. They're so short. Like one more beat.
Yeah.
Just give me one more beat.
Yeah.
There's Tom Mix out of his cowboy garb, sipping a cup of coffee. Just let it run for another 5 seconds. But no. But until you
saw it.
Until you see it, you don't
saw
know.
it. You experienced it.
Yep.
Now what? It's over now.
It's over now.
And now it's over. Man.
George Sidney was never in the running for the Nuanced Performance Award of 1932 or any other year, as far as I can tell. George Stevens directed one of the Coens and Kellys movies early on in his career. It is understandably not included in retrospectives of his work.
And there you have it.
And there you have it.
And there you have it. I'm going to make him go take a nap before he has to go out tonight and party again at the New Beverly with you folks. I'm so glad that it's been going well. And I hope that tonight is a perfect cherry on top.
I think it will be.
Thank you guys, as always, for joining us. We love being with you on these Sundays. We're here next Sunday, so we will see you next week. All is well. Everybody take good care of yourselves. And we will speak
And
to you
and
very
and,
soon.
and Daisy is doing just fine.
Yeah, she's fine. She's got baby shark now, so everything's fine. Yeah, we'll see you next week.
And be kind.